Thank you for tuning in. I'm Christine Pettit, Executive Director of Long Beach Forward. I'm so excited today to be collaborating with the nonprofit partnership as part of their storytelling series, Our Stories, Our Time. I'm here today with Gaby Hernandez, Associate Director of the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition. Hello, Gaby.
Hi everyone.
Thank you so much for doing this interview with me, Gaby, and for sharing your work with our viewers. Now more than ever, it's important to find time to connect with one another and also to share our stories. So to start out, please share a bit about yourself and the work of the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And a little bit about myself. My name is Gaby Hernandez. I'm the Associate Director for the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition. I'm a plant mom. So as you can tell, I have a lot of plants in the background. I'm also a dog mom. I'm also a scholar, and then I'm also an undocumented woman. So the work that we do at LBIRC is dear to my heart because it's my life experience and also that of my family and the community that I work with. So at LBIRC, we mainly focus on fighting for just policies that are going to benefit the immigrant community, whether that's at the local level or state level. And we do it through organizing and programs as well. So I like to say that we're a hybrid organization. So we do some programming and we do a lot of advocacy as well.
That's so important. One thing that I've found really interesting over time is looking at the connection between service and advocacy. What do you see as the importance of connecting those pieces?
Yeah, I mean, just for example, LBIRC has an ESL program. So we have folks from the community that join our classes. And from there, they learn certain tools. Not only are they learning language and building community within their classes, but they're learning advocacy tools. And then they join us for, they come with us to Sacramento or city council meetings. So we engage folks that are benefiting from the services that we have, and they become advocates themselves and they learn the tools to do that. So I think it's important to have the connection. I think it's essential to have the connection and not only give a service, but also how can we make sure that those folks that are attending those services or are able to use some of those tools to advocate for themselves and empower themselves and empower others at the same time.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing earlier the different identities that you hold, from being a plant mom to being an undocumented woman, and a strong one at that, and really bridging that connection between service and advocacy. What difference do you feel it makes in people's lives to advocate for their experiences?
I think they see the power that their words and that their stories hold. Just to give you an example, yesterday we were part of Immigrant Day 2020, where we advocated for policies that were going to benefit the immigrant community. And we had community members join us in this legislative visits virtually through Zoom. And just seeing them own their story and be empowered by their story and then sharing it, it's so powerful, because this is not only going to impact their immediate, like themselves, it's also their families and their kids, right? When their kids see their moms, mostly that are mostly the folks that join us during these visits, they see themselves, empowered, and also their children see them and they're like, okay, that's my mom is doing that. Okay, I can do that too, right? So seeing that is so beautiful, and also seeing that they own their power and realizing like it's like a light bulb, like, oh, my story is powerful. And that's what I always tell folks, like, don't forget about everything. Your story, you're the expert of your story. You're the expert of the things and the challenges that you're going through. And there's no one else better than you than to share it. So seeing that, I think, is extremely powerful to see.
Absolutely. So we're in this time, this crisis in terms of COVID-19, and you mentioned being on Zoom legislative visits. So I imagine that wasn't something you were doing a few months ago. What shifts has LBIRC had to make in light of COVID-19, and how are you navigating those shifts?
Yeah, I mean, we had to do a lot of different things after COVID-19 hit. We primarily work with the Spanish-speaking community, primarily the undocumented community. So all of the different things that are happening with COVID-19 are really impacting the immigrant community, the undocumented immigrant community, the hardest. So we had to make a lot of changes, right? Including, the Zoom visits, but primarily really focusing on like what were folks' needs right now. So what we were hearing from folks is that they were struggling, right? That they were losing their jobs, that their kids were not going to school, that they had no money to buy necessities and basic needs. So LBIRC is really in touch with community. Community is really trusting of us, and they were able to share all that information with us. And we got together, included with some impacted community members, and we said, okay, what can we do, right? We know that at the federal level, undocumented immigrants were going to be excluded from any type of assistance, and we wanted to make sure that we did something, right? Because even though that benefit was not coming down, folks were still going to be struggling. So in collaboration with a number of different organizations, we created what we are calling the undocumented, the COVID-19 Undocumented Community Relief Fund. And that's here for Long Beach residents. So that's one of the biggest shifts that we've done. We changed from not providing any cash assistance to folks to now being able to do that in partnership with other organizations. So that has been the biggest shift, right? To be able to provide basic financial assistance to folks that may be struggling right now, because that's the current need right now as it is, right? The same thing as having access to food, right? To fresh produce. So not only are we doing the undocumented community relief fund, but also we're delivering food to our families. So our members, again, they told us what they were needing. And we built up partnerships to make sure that we were able to deliver food to their homes, because it wasn't only that they didn't have a job, but also they don't have health insurance. Yeah. So if they went out to buy food themselves, if they were at risk of being infected, then they had nowhere to go, right? So it's a ladder of different things that can impact the undocumented immigrant community here in Long Beach. So we had to shift that, right? And we had never done like food deliveries, and we started doing that. We've been doing that for almost 2 months now, and we'll continue to do it as long as the community needs it. And then all the programs that we had, including our ESL classes, that it's our biggest program in Long Beach, we had to switch to online. So we had classes at 4 different locations throughout the city. And our folks, again, many lack access to Medi-Cal, to health insurance. So we're like, we don't want to put folks at risk. So we actually canceled our classes before the home at state happened and the order happened. We knew that our folks were very vulnerable. So we switched everything to online now. So our ESL classes are online. And that has been one of the biggest shifts that we had been able to do as well, because there's a huge digital divide within the community members that we're working with. Folks don't have access to internet or a smartphone. So we've been having to work with folks on walking them through the process, slowly, step by step, on how folks can access simple things as Zoom, right? Folks, they need a guide to be able to do that. So that's one of the shifts that we've done too, switching to our classes to be online. We were actually running also a leadership school, and we had launched that this year. So we were so excited, and we had over 30 community members come into our leadership school, and we had it our first month in February, and then in March we couldn't have it anymore. So our folks were like, oh, but we really want to have it. What can we do? And we switched it online. So now we're doing our leadership school online, and folks are like, yes, this is exactly what I needed. This helps me, because we also have to keep in mind that, folks are at home, like they need something to be able to feel like they're doing something, right? And that they're doing something for the community. And this is how they see themselves fitting into the larger picture, right? That they're not only advocating for themselves, but also their families. And they're learning the tools through our leadership school and whatnot. The census work, we had to switch that too. So LBIRC was focusing on doing census work because we know that our communities are hard to count communities, right? That is hard for our communities to trust, to fill out the census, to be well informed. And we can go into detail as to why folks are scared, but that was the thing that LBIRC knew. And we were doing canvassing for the census. So that's in-person contact, right? So after COVID, we had to switch, and we had to switch everything online. But I have a super creative team. They're super amazing. Like none of the work that LBIRC does could be done without the team. Our folks that are focusing on the census, we brainstormed together and we started doing videos every day during April to ensure that folks knew about the census, that they got informed, that they knew the critical importance that it is to fill out the census. So we had to switch all of the work that we had, planned for the census to online. So that was a huge shift that we had to do. But, thankfully we've been able to do it with great success. Folks have been engaged, folks that never thought about filling out the census, so that they were afraid. Now they're like, okay, this is important and I need to share this information with other folks as well. Another big focus of LBIRC has been to inform folks about public charge, right? Public charges, it's a ruling, a federal ruling that can impact folks, not only, nationally, all immigrants. So we wanted to make sure that folks were informed, not only community members, but also folks that come in touch with community. So we had planned a community forum and also a forum on public charge for this month, but we had to switch that. So now we're doing a webinar. So all of the work that we had planned, that it was in person, we switched it to have it on, to have it online. And thankfully to the partnerships that we have, we're super looking forward to having those out soon. But I'll stop right there and see if you have any questions.
Well, that's a lot. And I know there's even more. I know there's more that you didn't even touch on yet, but, just to reflect a little bit, I heard you talking about the communities that you work with, undocumented folks, predominantly Spanish-speaking folks in our community. And really, you're connecting with folks at all levels. So the immediate need in terms of the financial insecurity, the lack of health care, and just the vulnerability of even being able to access fresh foods or to do that safely. And so I can hear that your team has really stepped up to figure out, okay, how can we support this? And I know that, a lot of that has been done through community effort too around the Undocu Fund. Can you just share a little bit about that piece? And then I will ask you about some of the other pieces too, because that was very rich, what you just shared. But yeah, like the funds that you talked about, can you share more about, its initial kind of development, its successes so far, what's going to happen in the future from your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. So again, the Undocu Fund came out of necessity, right? And in Long Beach, there's over 30,000 folks that are undocumented in the city. So that's a big number, and as you know, Long Beach is a big, small city. So there's a lot of folks that are in need right now. And we heard it loud and clear from community that this is something that was essential and that they needed, right? Because they were really left out from all levels. At the federal level, also locally, there's really no support, financial support for undocumented families that can't rely on unemployment. We also know that there is potential money from the governor that they announced, but that's not going to be able to suffice to all the folks that are undocumented here in the state. We have over 2 million undocumented folks in California. So we heard community loud and clear, and they wanted to be involved in the process as well. So this is where I'm talking about, that the folks that we work with are resilient and are strong and are empowered themselves. So we came together and we started brainstorming, like, what do we do, right? Like we have no money right now. And we know that this is a critical need from folks. That's exactly what they're asking for. What can we do? So we started reaching out to folks that also work with undocumented community members in Long Beach. And everyone was like, yes, this is exactly what community is also telling us. So we came together, we brainstormed, we really built it up from scratch. There was really no infrastructure set for us. And we had to reach out to other Undocu funds in the state. And we're like, how did you do this? Can you tell us? And we learned a lot from other folks. And then we would build it up. So right now, we actually opened the application about 2 weeks ago. We opened the application, it went live, and I would say within a couple hours, we had to close the application because we got so many applications. And that just tells you the need. So we got close to 200 applications. It was 182 applications that we received. And at that moment, we had only fundraised like $30,000. So we're like, whoa, we just got 182 applications and we only have $30,000. What are we gonna do, right? So thankfully, the partners that we're working with are really like hitting the ground and are doing like fundraisers. So all of the organizations involved are doing like individual fundraisers for the fund. So to this day, we are close to $200,000 that we've raised. So it's amazing. On the applications that people apply to, we're in the process of sending their cash assistance, but the numbers, and these are estimated numbers, we're gonna be able to assist close to the 182 families. That ends up being like 700 people in Long Beach, and that's about $80,000 that we're going to be able to distribute. And then we're going to reopen the application again now that we have a little bit more funds. But we know that the need is so much greater than what we have. You know, folks are telling us, I can't pay my rent, I can't buy milk, you know, I can't buy diapers. So it's like, I can't pay my cell phone bill, you know, really essential things that are folks needing right now. So that's how we came together. It's been a great success. And I think it's because community has really led this and community has really come together to build it up. And I'm also super grateful for the organizations that are part of this. And I'll just name them so folks know. It has been Days Long Beach. It's a great partner of ours. Housing Long Beach, Latinos in Action, and DSA Long Beach. These are the folks that really came together and really hit the ground and got this going. And my colleague's gonna put the link at the bottom of the comments. If folks wanna donate to this fund, I really encourage folks to do it. Really a small donation goes a long way with this. So there'll be the link will be there. It's bit.ly on DocuFund LBC, but the link will be there.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that success. I mean, it is significant, even though the need is so much greater. And so we do hope that people who are watching contribute. And I know that the community will be raising even more funds and will attract even more support to this. It's just so critical in this time to offer that support. So that's amazing. And so you've talked really about the range from this is people's basic needs to also the ESL classes, that development, and the leadership and the convenience and creating community in this time and helping people feel connected in this time. Can you share a little bit more about the goals of the leadership program and, you know, what you're hoping to achieve with that group at this time, or what inspired you around that?
Yeah, thank you for asking me about that, because our leadership school, that's what we're calling
Leadership
it,
school.
leadership school, and it's really unique because this is a program that is solely in Spanish, because we know that there's a lot of programs out there, but nothing really for the Spanish-speaking community. So this program is essentially open to anyone that is willing to come to this, right? We started it at the beginning of the year, so it's going to run for the entire year. And it's monthly workshops that we have going on, right? And the workshops go from, you know, what is power? What is a legislative visit? How do you do a legislative visit? You know, what is the budget? How do we identify things in the budget? How do we identify structures? So it really goes from all kinds of topics. And the main goal of it is to create leadership from that. And we have no doubt that the folks that are part of that are already leaders, and they're going to continue to grow and share this information with their folks, right? Because that's what it's all about. For us at LBIRC, we're focusing on like building community power, and that's essential to us. And we're doing that by starting small and then knowing, because we know for sure that community talks to each other. So the folks that will be coming to this leadership school will share the information that they're learning with their community members, with their neighbors, with their family. And that's already happening. We had folks that came to our first meeting, and then they were referred by another person that was coming, and they're like, hey, you need to come to this. And they came, so it's already happening. We already see it in action. And the goal of it is to really create leaders that are coming out of that.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome that you've added in this leadership school. I've seen the ways that LBIRC has already supported so many powerful leaders in the community. So I know that there's just more to come. And like you said, there will be an impact on their families, on the communities, and really bring more people into the fold of having their voice heard. And that's so important. You talked earlier about legislative visits on Zoom, and we talked a little bit offline about some of the challenges with digital inclusion and what it takes to really support people to get online, whether it's for political advocacy or even for their child's education. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so again, we work with a lot of folks that we have really built trust with them, right? So they really let us know what's going on. And they're expressing to us the fact that, like, jumping on a Zoom call may be easy for us, but it's not for them. And it's because of so many different variables, right? One of them is that they may not have a smartphone, they may not have a computer, they may not have access to internet. They don't know how to use these features. So we really have to meet community where they are, and that's what we do. So including, doing their homework with their kids, they're sharing with us the challenges that the folks have. So, it's really important for us to focus and really understand that, technology, it can go and, it can reach a lot of people, but also there's a lot of people that don't have access to some of the same material. So that has been a challenge, as I'm talking about our leadership school and our ESL classes, it has been a slow transition because we have to meet our folks where they are, because we have to guide them. And then they're guiding themselves. Like, we have one community member saying, I'm calling, this community member, and I'm going to walk her through the process. So they're doing it themselves, and we're just also being a tool, right? And helping them walk through the process, because it is a thing that we see that is very real within our communities, that right now they're worrying about, what's going to happen with their internet after this 2 months that they had a free trial, right? That's very real. Like, what's going to happen? How they're going to do their homework if they had that access, right? So there has been a number of different things that we had to work on and help folks navigate as we do all these different programs, right? And really, it's kind of for us a reality check of like, okay, we got to slow down. We got to slow down, and we got to, meet folks where they are. And even if it takes longer, our ESL program, it took us about 1.5 months to get online. That's okay. That's okay. Like, we're okay with that. We're okay with, like, if we have to have one-on-ones with folks and walk them through the process, we're okay with that. And that's what we did. And that's what we continue to do. And then, like I said, the same folks that are in our programs, they are helping each other,
Yeah, that's so important in this time too, to slow down and meet people where they're at and understand that by slowing down, you're able to bring more people with you and not leave people behind. And I know that's so important. And as you were talking about that, I was just thinking about what, you have the relationship. So even if the class hasn't come online for 1.5 months, you're clearly connecting with community members around what their needs are in the moment.
Right. So even though they were not in the classes, like, we still had, contact with them, I would say, on a daily basis, right? Because folks would contact us, would be asking us like, hey, where can I go get tested? Which is another big piece that I didn't mention. Another thing that LBIRC has really taken on is that from all these community questions, we're taking it all in, and then we're like, okay, there's a pattern here, right? We're getting like 10 folks that are asking us about the school. We're getting like 20 folks that are asking us about immigration questions. Like, so we started to see patterns, right? And we gathered all that information and we created videos. So we have what we call Information Without Videos, Information Without Border video series on Facebook. And through there, what we've been able to do is kind of do something like this. We're interviewing folks and then kind of asking what people are asking us. And then that way we do a video and it reaches more people. So I want to say maybe like 2 weeks ago, we interviewed Juan Benitez regarding LBUSD and it was in Spanish, right? That's the other critical component, is that our folks are lacking the proper information and the language that they speak. So LBIRC has kind of really stepped in and said, okay, well, we need to kind of create this content because it's not there. So we need to reach out to the folks that may know the information and then interview them and have this video be out there. So that has been a great success. At the very beginning, when everything was happening, we also did videos on what benefits can undocumented folks apply to. What does that look like, and then so on. So we have a few videos also scheduled. And that's our goal, right? To inform folks about what's going on and what they can benefit from.
That's awesome. I know you've been a big proponent of language access in the city and getting appropriate information to people. And it sounds like you're also filling a gap in information at this critical moment. So just shifting to the future, what glimmers of hope, if any, do you see coming out of this crisis?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm very scared for our community because as I expressed earlier, the undocumented community is really being hit the hardest. And this is going to be an ongoing thing for them. This is not going to end when the pandemic ends, which we don't see any end to it right now, but it's going to have the ripple effect for possibly months to come. So I am very scared, but I'm also very hopeful that as I see our communities really seeing the inequalities and how this pandemic has really highlighted the inequalities that exist. They're not new to this because that's their life experience. They've experienced that for many, many years, but they see it raw here right now that it's being highlighted, right? So I think I see a change. I see that with community, we can shape a better future, and I know that sounds cliche, but it's real. Like, I think for us, it's not going back to normal because the normal that we had didn't actually work with everyone, didn't benefit a lot of us. So for folks now, as I see them engage, and as I was talking earlier, seeing them really empowered and sharing their story with legislators, it really gives me a glimpse of hope that there is a better future and that folks and communities going to lead in that way to have a better future. So I have hope.
Yeah, well, there's definitely that reality and understanding that if we looked at those who are experiencing the most pain and vulnerability right now and really centered recovery around those folks, undocumented folks, and many other communities who are experiencing these inequities, that would be an approach that would really lift everyone up. So you're doing so much important work. How can people get involved in and support the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition?
Well, there's a lot of ways. Number one, I would say if you can, please donate to our fund, the UndocuFund LBC. I'm sure the link is already in the comments. That would be a huge help. But also you can follow us on social media. We're really active on our social media platforms. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and we're learning Twitter. But Facebook and Instagram, it's at LBIRC 562. Please give us a like, or follow us. We'll put a lot of information, and also like very vital information that can be shared with folks. That's from anywhere from like if there's an upcoming Know Your Rights, where there's a call to action about maybe possibly releasing someone from detention, or if there's a legal clinic. So we post a lot of that information online. And also you can sign up to our newsletter. So you can go to our website, and that's www.lbirc.org. We'll make sure that we put all the information down here, but don't be a stranger. Send us a message. Everyone gets in contact with us through DMs or Facebook messages. So if you want to volunteer, we're also always looking for volunteers. Even if you just know folks that may be benefiting from this information, please ask them to follow us on our social media platforms.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Gabby, and thanks so much for sharing about your work.
Of course. Thank you, everyone.